video.
Hi all, we have about one more minute to go and we will get started. Thank you for attending. It's a lot of information. We are recording this, so you will be able to watch it again, catch up on any information you might have missed, and share it with your neighbors. So there will be a Q&A session at the end. I do plan on staying until most or all of your questions are answered. If there are further questions that you come up with over the next several days, feel free to either email me or email Nina. And I might be triaging the questions out to the different team members based on your question and what you'd like to know. So let's get going on our Rancho La Quinta's disaster preparedness plan. This is not working, so we have to go get her again first.
Well, give you time to introduce it.
You know where she's at? Well, I was going to introduce everybody kind of at the end because I want to talk about the teams. But since we have time, let's just get to that right now. To my left, your right, is Bobby Marcus. So I can't switch the slides. Oh, now it goes.
You just apparently
you
have to be in the room.
All right, well, I'm going to get started with the presentation. As you all know, I hope anyway, that our earthquake risk is high. The statewide analysis of earthquake probabilities determined the chance of us having one or more magnitude of 6.7 or larger earthquakes in California over the next 30 years is a 99.7%. 30 years seems quite a bit, but this was also done 5 years ago, so it's really more like 25. I don't know if any of you were in California in 2019 when there was the Ridgecrest earthquake. Ridgecrest is out about 80 miles outside of Lancaster, and a 6.4 happened on July 4th. That happened to be a foreshock, and the real earthquake happened July 5th, which was a 7.1. It was quite devastating to the town, destroyed a number of buildings. The other thing that you should know is that the Richter scale of the 6.4 and 7.1 is different than the intensity. The intensity is how strong it is felt in a particular area. So we could, for instance, have the big earthquake and it's going to be a, let's say, 7.1. And the intensity on Rancho La Quinta Drive might be very different than the intensity on Descanso Drive. So therefore, having multiple sites that have the ability to do a search and rescue is to our advantage because we do have a little larger area. So that, for instance, there were buildings that were destroyed in Ridgecrest right next to one another. And one was not destroyed, one was. It was also a fault that was previously unknown. So it is now the Barnhart fault line, and it now exists since 2019. So a little more detail than you probably wanted. So we do live in the highest risk area in California. We're on the southern San Andreas Fault. So 59% in the next 30 years, I think an earthquake's going to happen along that fault. These are the seismologists and the geologists. This is not Jennifer Hass's opinion. I will tell you that earthquakes are happening in our area every single day. So for instance, today, 4 hours ago, there was a 1.6 out in Borrego Springs. There was 17 hours ago, there was a 1.7 in Acuanga. A day ago, it was out in Anza, and it was a 2.0. 5 days ago, it was a 3.4 in Borrego Springs. And 1 month ago, it was a 4.0 out in Ontario. But there's, in between all of these dates I'm giving you, every couple of hours, it seems like there's another earthquake. Generally, they're around 1.6 to 2.0, but at any moment, you can have a larger earthquake. And just because we're having smaller earthquakes does not mean you won't have the big earthquake. What happened in Ridgecrest is they had a swarm of small earthquakes right before the big foreshock. So, first and foremost, this committee, Rancho La Quinta, board members, everybody is telling you your responsibility is that you need to be prepared. You need to make a plan, you need to build a kit, and you need to stay informed. That's not anything that this committee is going to provide for you. We are going to, I'm glad I got all of our attention. The responsibility for your survival is your responsibility. The city, the officials have told us that we need to be expected to sustain our household for up to 3 weeks. Out in Ridgecrest, they needed it for longer than 2 months. FEMA stayed there for 3 months. They didn't have water, they didn't have showers, they didn't have groceries. The one grocery store was demolished. So you need to have food, water, medicines, blankets, and other necessities. The system that we're talking about setting up today, that is going to be at most of the pool emergency gathering centers, does not have any food for you, doesn't have any water for you. There are no medicines, there's no blankets. So you have to find a system for yourself. What we are looking at as a committee is setting up a systematic framework that can provide coordinated help that's going to save lives. We have to have some effective and efficient search and assist system that will cover small designated areas so we can get to injured homeowners as soon as possible. That Rancho La Quinta is a large area. It will take way too long to coordinate a search and assist from one particular area. We need to be able to provide medical assistance and first aid, and we need a system of communication. We must have access to the resources, equipment, and tools that are already available in Rancho La Quinta. So the DPC team, the Disaster Preparedness Committee team members, have been working on this plan for over 3 years. We have visited at least 5 different local gated communities, all of which have a very robust, comprehensive disaster plan. We're the only ones that have no plan currently in place. We consulted with multiple experts on disaster planning and how to implement this, and we also attended multiple training sessions and education and gathered education materials from the Coachella Valley Disaster Preparedness Network. If you don't know about CVDPN, which is the Coachella Valley Disaster Preparedness Network, it was started by a woman who lives at the lakes, and it is a very robust organization that will come out and help you even with personal preparedness in your own homes. So my team members are, I'm the chair of this committee, and I took on the incident command and pool command team. Logistics is Betsy Michelle and Dom Mancuso. I will introduce everybody later so you actually can see and put a face to the name. Search and assist was Lori Kraberry. Medical team is Bobby Marcus. The volunteer team is Abby Grant. Animal control is Ian Brochi, and I put in Cliff Zelenko. Cliff resigned from our committee earlier this year, but he put in a lot of work to develop the procedures and the items and the system to run animal control. Community education engagement is a new team member, Lee Saul, and so I'm delighted that she will be here, and you will be getting lots more information now from us now that our plan is coming to fruition. Our documentarian is Fran Curtis. She is the one that's been keeping track and keeping us all on track and task and organized. Our historian is Marty Stanton. She's been with the Disaster Preparedness Committee from its inception. Security is my husband Jim Hess, because we couldn't get somebody to step to the plate for security. So he has graciously volunteered to do that so that he can spend more time with me. And then the equipment procurer coordinator extraordinaire is Eric Hernandez. And so he has really done a lot of research and help in finding a lot of the different tools that we needed. So let's get started. What is the plan? We developed the plan based on an incident command system that is used by hospitals, governments, emergency responders. It's a proven effective system for disaster and emergency management and it establishes roles, responsibilities with written guidelines, operating procedures that need to instruct those people who are present and capable of how to fulfill those roles. It is not dependent on, it is dependent on a system.
Or it should be just normal.
So somebody needs to mute, please.
Yeah, I mean, the Microsoft has been,
So
they changed it.
there's the master account and then
Okay.
PowerPoint.
So Mike,
And
you
then,
mute
Or oh, you
yourself.
want Excel,
yeah,
and you should already have it on.
Okay. So, the street captain system was dependent on people who may or may not be here when the disaster happens. So this is a system that is set around roles and responsibilities, not a specific person. There will be no person identified as an incident commander. There will be a system. Now, it won't go again. There we go. So the first essential step was to create these small gathering areas, pool emergency gathering areas. I really want to acknowledge Betsy, Michelle, and Don Mancuso in their research and going to the different communities, realized that having small designated areas within our community would actually provide quicker, more efficient help to the homeowners. So the pools were identified as the area that would be most efficient. We have assigned approximately 120 to 160 homeowners to various pools throughout Rancho La Quinta. So our community pools are finally getting some really good use, I hope. The designated areas are small. They will have a cabinet full of supplies and tools for search and assist of homes. There will be supplies for a mobile medical team as well as a first aid station and a generator for lighting and electrical needs. The second step is a community incident command system. So after the pools are operating and performing search and assist and assisting the injured, we need to also have a community-wide command center that allows for access to the equipment in the vehicles, in the golf maintenance yard, the fuel and equipment that's in the regular maintenance yard, that we need to have community-wide volunteer registration system and directing volunteers where they have the most talent and where it can be best utilized. We need medical assistance for those who are more severely injured and what can be managed in an outdoor setting at a pool. We need animal control for loose pets. This is not where you're going to bring your pet for us to watch. This is for the loose pets that are running around because during the earthquake or the disaster, they escape. And so we want to find a way in which we can corral them until you can pick them up. And then we need to provide some kind of community-wide security. We anticipate that our security system will be down. People can be hopping the fence, and we need to find a way to keep us all safe. So this is what it looks like if you look at a decision tree, kind of a flow chart of how the system's going to work. Every pool will have 2 search and assist teams, a mobile medical team, and a first aid station. As you can see, we are not utilizing pool 1, and we are not utilizing pool 5. Pool 1 is on North Street, Bobby. What is that one?
No, actually, I think pool 1 is the one that's in Via Solano. Pool 2 is the one that's not being used on Capistrano,
Okay, well then.
I think. In any event, the pool for that area is the one that's on Via Solano, not as it says there on Capistrano.
Capistrano, you're right, so it's
That
not
pool-
on Capistrano,
that pool
it is
is not
on
a
Via
meeting.
Solano. The map shows it on Via Solano.
Right.
I now see that was wrong. And then there's another pool just up from the Jefferson Gate on Rancho La Quinta Drive that we are not gonna utilize. We're gonna use the one farther down that's closer to Rancho La Quinta Drive in Vista Calico. So, after the pools comes the different, overall teams that will cover the entire community. Logistics, animal control, volunteers, medical and security. You can see where they're gonna be set up. Logistics will be at the golf course maintenance yard. If you don't know where that is, there's a little dip in the road on Rancho La Quinta Drive. And logistics that's where the golf course maintenance yard is. There's a giant fuel tank that's filled every Thursday. If the disaster happens Thursday or Friday, we're pretty good with fuel. If it happens on Wednesday, we'll be a little short. Animal control will be on the clay tennis courts. Volunteers, we're gonna set up the volunteer station at the pickleball courts. And then the medical treatment center will be at the cantina. There will be large banners. You can see the table is covered with the one for the medical cantina on our table, and then security. At the HOA office is gonna be communications, incident commander, and the pool commander, and the communications will be in charge of keeping in contact with the city of La Quinta and seeing what resources we can get from them. It's not anticipated that we will get very much. The city will be focused on getting their own police and fire department up and running. They will be getting their own schools back up and running, their gathering centers, their community centers, the city hall, and then they will focus on hospitals and nursing homes, and then they will focus on non-gated communities, and then they will focus on gated communities. So we are the last on the list that they will provide help to. We don't anticipate there will be any ambulances or help. I do hope to have the city come in the spring to a vendor fair and give a presentation on what their plan is so that you can hear it directly from them rather than just from me. But that's why we need to be ready for at least 3 weeks of being on our own. But we will have either a ham radio operator, or the new iPhones are coming out with satellite capabilities. And with that, we can communicate with the city of La Quinta. So if you haven't already, at the HOA office is this homeowner handout that we have developed for you. It's a double-sided, for those of you who are watching the screen, I get to be Vanna. It is a double-sided, laminated handout with a key ring on it that you can put up near your garage door opener, inside a cabinet where you're gonna know where it is and where it's located. And it does tell you what you should do before the earthquake, how you need to prepare, because once the shaking starts, your preparation will stop. There is no more preparing. What do you do during an earthquake? You don't go stand underneath a doorway anymore. That was what we were taught 50 years ago. And now we want you to drop to the floor, cover your head, and hold on to something. Do not walk around. You will fall and can possibly break some bones. After the earthquake, and I will run through those steps with you, what you're gonna do for that. Then on the flip side of it are steps of what you're gonna do for Rancho. After ensuring your family's safety, you're gonna go to your pool emergency gathering area and you're gonna check in, and I'm gonna go through the steps for that in a minute. The slide on the screen down by where it says pool emergency gathering area is blank here, but on the laminated sheet that you're gonna pick up at the pool, it will be specific for you. So you will know exactly where your pool is located, what the address is, and what the code is to get to the lockbox to open that up. I've not talked about this yet. So immediately afterwards, what you're gonna do is you're gonna check in with your family and you're gonna secure your pets in a safe location. Your pets are gonna make a run for it because they know something's wrong. So be sure that you put your pets in a safe location, provide first aid to your family, shut off your water if appropriate. There's some controversy right now about whether we're gonna really have people shut off water. And it looks like we probably are not gonna have you do that. Just keep your water on. Only turn your gas off if you smell it, hear it, or if you see that meter spinning wildly. Move your car outside your garage. It can provide shelter and a cool space as well as a source of information. Remember, in Ridgecrest, the foreshock was on July 4th at 6.4. The real earthquake was the next day at 7.1. You don't want your car in the garage. Move your car to the outside. And then there will be an okay and a help sign that you'll pick up also. So you get 2 handouts at the HOA office. So if you're okay, if you put this in your window or in your door or somewhere where the search and assist teams can see it, they will know that your house is okay, you are okay, and they can move on to the next house and be much more efficient in getting medical help to those homeowners that need it. If you need help, then we want this in the door. So say your husband or your wife is injured and you need help, put this in your window, and when search and assist comes around, They can say, we need help at this address, and they will get you the help faster if the sign is posted. Then after you've checked on your own home, we do want you to check in at your pool because there will be a list at every pool of the homeowners, and whoever is gonna be the pool captain is gonna need to know which homeowners are home, which ones are not, who's okay and who's not. So this is what the map looks like. And Bobby, you're 100% correct. It is pool number 1, that is Via Solana. And we can see that we have color coordinated the map. What I do want to point out is that there are some streets that are divided. There's this one and there's this one. And there's some other ones over here. There's other ones around. So if you are these homeowners and you are at a party at this house, you might just go down to the pool at Descanso, and you can absolutely do that. You do not have to go to the pool that you are assigned. It's helpful, it would be great, but we all know that that's probably not gonna happen. So the pool captains will have a system in place where they can call in, they can tell one another if a homeowner has arrived at their pool that is supposed to be at another pool, and so that we can somehow keep track of homeowners. So the same with this area right here, these homeowners are supposed to go that direction, and these homeowners are supposed to go this direction. So pay attention to your map, know where you're supposed to go, and meet the people at your pool. So at the community pools, what's there? When you arrive, what do you see? Well, what you're gonna find is a generator that has 3 modes of power: natural gas, propane, and gasoline. Yes, there will be a 25-foot hose on top of the generator that will connect to the gas meter with a quick connect. It's very easy to do. We are eventually going to teach you all how to do that. How do you know whether you should use that gas meter? You're going to hear it. You're not going to use it. If you smell it, you're not going to use it. And if that meter is spinning wildly, you're not going to use it. You're going to shut it off, and you're going to use propane or gasoline. In the cabinet, there is a plethora of supplies. But what you do need to know for the sake of this slide, because I'm not listing them all, are there are 2 backpacks, one for each search and assist team, one backpack for the mobile medical team, a very large bin of medical supplies for the first aid station, and then supplies like radios with backup batteries, tower lights, empty containers that we can fill with pool water, power cords. So there's a lot of help provided in the cabinet. Did you also know that every pool has a maintenance room? You don't have a key to that, but we will see that there is a key on the lockbox on the pool. I'll get to the lockbox in a minute. But in the maintenance room is a pop-up tent that you can pull out, set up where you're going to set up your medical area where you can put some injured, get them out of the sun, whiteboard so that the pool captain can keep track of communication, and a portable toilet, because I don't know if we're going to really have facilities, and I want to make sure that cleanliness is maintained, because we don't need any other diseases from a disaster. So this is what's going to be at every single pool. There is a lockbox with a 4-digit code. On your handout is the code, and the code is the last 4 numbers of the address of that pool.
First 4.
Sorry, it says first 4. It's the last 4.
It's the last.
So we have to redo these handouts. It's the last 4 digits on the address. Because all of them start with 7, 9, something or another. And some of them have the same. Anyway, thank you for pointing that out, Abby. I missed that one. It's the last 4 digits of the address is what I believe. It's what I should make clear. Inside the lockbox are 4 keys. One to the pool itself, to the gate, because my guess is when you came to the pool, you didn't remember to bring your key. The second, and that key also opens up the bathrooms. It'll open up, there's a key in there that will open up the cabinet, and there's a key that will open up the maintenance room. There is a lock that will be securing the generator to the floor of every pool, and it's a key that will unlock the generator so that you can move the generator out of the bathroom. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna bring the generator out and assess whether or not you can use the gas meter or if you need another power source. You're gonna bring the cabinet out from inside the bathroom, set up the tower lights. You need it close to the generator. You're gonna fill the empty jugs with pool water. You're gonna set up the pop-up tent that's in the maintenance room, put some chaise lounges underneath that pop-up tent for the injured, and set up the first aid station. You're gonna set up whiteboards for the pool captain to track communications. You're gonna establish now that you have it all set up, you're gonna establish who is a pool captain, who's a pool captain assistant, and who's a scribe, who can keep track of some data and information for them. You're gonna form 2 search and assist teams. Hopefully they are 2 people who are trained in CERT training. I don't know how many people in our community have had CERT training or a refresher, but it's really vital that you consider getting CERT training. It's provided free by the city. They're gonna form 1 mobile medical team. That consists also of 2 people who have some type of medical and first aid knowledge. They will also set up a first aid station at each pool with the medical bin that's there. Then you're gonna test the radios and review radio etiquette with those that are gonna be using the radios. There is a whole handout on how to use the radios and follow the proper etiquette. So for each, these are what the radios are gonna look like. There's gonna be 1 for every search and assist team, 1 for the mobile medical team, and 2 for the pool captain. 1 that will communicate with those search and assist teams and the mobile medical team, and 1 to communicate with the incident command center. That one is labeled, so the pool captain will have 2 radios, the teams will have 1. The radios are gonna be preset to a designated channel and frequency that only that pool gets. Because I don't want pool number 1 talking that they need help and pool number 8 thinks it's their teams that need help. So every pool is its own isolated search and assist and mobile medical team with their own pool captain. You won't have the ability to change the channel and those things. You can play with the switch all you want and it's gonna stay on that same frequency. The pool captain's second radio will have the ability to change channels, will have the ability to communicate with the pool and incident command. And that's what then the pool captains will communicate with one another. So if a homeowner shows up at a different pool, the pool captain uses that radio to tell the other captains what's going on. So, how are you really gonna learn this? How are you really gonna put this into a system that's gonna be effective for you? So we're gonna start pool meet and greets in January of 2025. I'm hoping that the day of your pool meet and greet, you can go and meet your neighbors. Some of them have 80 people, some of them have 150 people. It will be on the 2nd and 4th Sunday afternoon from 3 to 4, 1 hour. One of the members of this committee will be at that pool meet and greet. And we are gonna help you all learn and understand the process for opening up the PEGA, get to know the supplies at the PEGA, get to know what's in the backpacks, get to know what some of the forms are, look at what the operating procedures are. We're gonna let you play with the radios and how you communicate, what is radio etiquette. We'll give you some handouts on what those are. And we're gonna strongly have you identify neighbors who have medical and CERT training and consider getting CERT training yourselves. Our hope is that you homeowners will continue to meet Sunday afternoons once a month or Friday afternoons once a month at the pool so that you can continue to learn and know one another and learn and know what's available. You absolutely may not utilize these supplies if there's not a disaster. If somebody in your home is injured and they have a medical emergency, you call 911. You don't go down to the pool and access any of the stuff. You have 911 available. All of the stuff that we put in place is for when we won't have 911 available. So I do want you to know what's there. I want you to look inside. I want you to see what's there. But I also want you to put it back and replace it so that it is available when you and your neighbors are gonna need it. Also coming in 2025 is the whole overall Rancho La Quinta incident system. So that is still one that we are working on and developing and needing some resources for. So that is where we will set up the incident command center here at the HOA office. There will be the pool commander here, communications with the city of La Quinta, as we said, security. We're gonna have security set up at the Jefferson Gate. I don't know if you're aware that when electricity goes down or the disaster happens, if the gates still operate, they all open. Yep, they all open. So we need to ensure that all of those gates are closed and locked, and people can't walk through them or drive through them without our permission. So right now, we are looking at the Jefferson Gate being the system where the security people are gonna gather and close all the gates, and you will only have access to come and leave through the Jefferson Gate. Logistics is in the golf maintenance yard, the medical lead and co-lead for the medical treatment center will be in the cantina. Oh, as time goes on, I hope that we can utilize the new fitness center that will be built. When that's brand new, my guess is that's gonna withstand the earthquake better than our cantina will, but you don't know, we don't know. Animal control in the clay tennis court, and the volunteers will be at the pickleball courts. And all positions are gonna have 1 or 2 scribes. We have to have also additional people keeping track and record keeping through all of this. So my last pitch to all of you is to please, please, please look at your own home, make a plan. How are you gonna contact somebody to let them know you're okay? Do you know that it should be somebody out of state? It shouldn't be somebody in California? Do you have a kit? Well, if you don't, here's some resources for you. The Coachella Valley Disaster Preparedness Network has a lot of information for you that can provide you with personal preparedness, provide training. You can go to emergencykits.com. Emergencykits.com for your homes, for your cars. You can go to ready.gov. Ready.gov is fabulous. They have lots of information that you can print out that will help you make your plan, help you build a kit, provide free publications. They can also send you emergency alerts. So if you want to know when all these earthquakes are hitting, every day, every hour, they'll send you an alert to your phone. And then there's always good old Amazon.com. So in conclusion, I do want you all to know that this is not perfection. We on this committee are very, very aware. We are not striving for perfection at this moment in our lives because it's too overwhelming. There's too much to be done. But we could begin, and this is a beginning. We are open to feedback, we're open to help. We would love to see homeowners involved in caring about how we're gonna move forward with this. After a disaster, we must have a systematic framework in which we can save lives and provide coordinated help to one another. The incident command system is proven effective system. If you've ever talked to a police officer, somebody in the military, that's exactly what they do when they move in and set up disaster emergency help. It's anticipated that the Disaster Preparedness Committee is going to need further funding. There's a lot of additional supplies that we don't currently have that we feel we need, but we have limited funding. We were able to put all of this together for about $45 per household. I think that's pretty good. $45 per household. The board was very determined to ensure that we stayed within budget, that they kept their promise to all of you to stay within budget and not exceed our expenses as a community. So they were very clear about giving us money and being very, ensuring that we were good stewards with that money. But I feel I need additional money. This summer was the hottest summer on record. We had many, many days over 120 degrees. 120 degrees. I was in air conditioning. It looked like 80 degrees out there to me. It was pretty good.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was too bad. But if that earthquake in Ridgecrest happened on July 4th and we had the disaster hit on July 4th, I would not have been happy. And there are many people who will not live through no air conditioning. We will lose homeowners from heat. So I strongly feel that I would like for us to look into some solar generators and portable air conditioning units in established cooling centers. Unfortunately, solar generators are 3 to 4 times the cost of the generators that we have. And air conditioning units, if you've ever looked into them, you will know they're not cheap either. So, and I will need several units because of the amount of people that we have. So my anticipation in looking into it is about $60,000. That is not something I'm asking the board for today. The board, that's something down the road that I hope to establish a fund for, that those who would like to contribute to that fund. But for today, I am putting the board on notice that we're gonna need $10,000 to $20,000 a year for the next 2 or 3 years, which again is $10 to $20 per homeowner, to continue to get some additional supplies and replenish some of the supplies like batteries and the liquids that we need for wound care and that kind of stuff are going to need to be replenished every year. So that is the end of our presentation. So now we can unmute all of you.
Introduce yourself.
And we will introduce our folks. Yes, I will. So to my left is Bobby Marcus, who has been heading up our medical team and coordinating, setting up the mobile medical team, the medical first aid stations at the pools, and the medical treatment center, our lovely banner here on the table. That will be at the cantina. Kyle Skogman is our board representative. I'm hoping you all know him. And Marty Statton is our historian who's been here since the inception of disaster preparedness. Abby Grant is the one who is in charge of our volunteers and has set up our volunteer supplies and station at the pickleball courts. Lori Kerberry is backing out of the picture and you cannot, there she is. She loves to run under the radar, in case you kind of really know that about her. She has been in charge of our search and assist team and has put together all the information and documentation for that. And these are the search and assist backpacks. I needed some show and tell. We have Fran Curtis, who is our documentarian, who keeps track of all the documents and keeps me on track with where we are and what we need to do next and what's happening. Betsy Michelle and her cohort in crime, Dom is not here, but Betsy was the one who coordinated all of the logistics and is setting up how we're going to access the fuel and the equipment and the tools that are all available to us at the golf maintenance yard. There's a lot of things out there that can help when trees are down, roads are impossible to cross, and people are trapped in their homes. And there's a lot of equipment over there that will help us when that disaster strikes. And then there is my husband, Jim Hess, who is going to help with security. And then we have Eileen. Eileen has been my helper extraordinaire this summer at putting together all of my paperwork. So now on to questions. So does anybody have any questions? And we will unmute you all. You can all unmute yourselves if you have a question, but please don't unmute yourself unless you have a question.
Hi, it's Lee Saul. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are actively working on the website. New website will be launched in early 2025, hopefully January. And we will have a disaster preparedness tab that will have all of the information in a nice organized manner for you. You'll be able to download anything that you want. It will have resources, links, what to do before, during, after, our plan, documents, as comprehensive as we can make it for you, but also as easy as we can make it for you.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is Mel Samples. First of all, it was a great presentation, and obviously you've been doing a lot of work for a long time. This is not easy to do at all, but I do have two questions. First one has to do, you mentioned in part of the presentation talking about getting containers at the pool and collecting some pool water. What was that supposed to be for?
Um, they are currently empty jugs. It would be for wound care, flushing, use in toilets. I don't know if it will be potable water or not. I do hope that there's bleach there, and so there's a thing on your handout how you can make unpotable water potable by putting in drops of bleach. But at least we would have, the sooner you fill those jugs with water before that whole pool water gets contaminated, the better off we are. It might already be contaminated in a big earthquake. The water might have sloshed out, sloshed onto the concrete and sloshed back in. So it might already be contaminated, but at least we have access to some water.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a suggestion there, and I'd like someone to look into turning pool water into potable water. My experience is it can be done. Sometimes it's not simple, sometimes it is, but I think it's worth looking into because across the complex here, we have at least hundreds of thousands of gallons of water, and I think that would be a viable resource for us rather than trying to collect 5-gallon jugs in our garages.
Duly noted, Mel. I love the idea.
Okay,
I think that's something that we could look into. I'm not making any promises because I'm still not sure how we would contain all that water when a disaster happens and in what that collection system would be. But I
Well,
think it's a great
you
idea.
have to contain all of it. Just contain it 5 gallons at a time.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is you made a comment that to secure the complex, you're planning on locking all the gates with the exception of Jefferson. That provides one ingress egress point for the entire complex. I'd like you to look at that a little bit more.
Okay.
From a
They're
fire,
you can leave and come, you can leave. And we have the ability to open and close it manually, but we don't want anybody coming in that isn't already seen. But go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I actually, I'm in charge of security and looking at, it'll be partially depending on what people power we have. If we have a lot of volunteers that are working on security, then we have the option of opening up several gates. But otherwise, we're just taking the approach that initially we'd be safer to go down to one. But that's something that we would alter on the fly.
I understand that. From a fire life safety standpoint, having just like in businesses, you have to have 2 exits. I think that's something important to look at is how we would man more than one gate.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering, Mel?
I may or may not be there. Right now, I'm in Redondo Beach, so I can't help you.
Welcome to my world.
But thank you.
Thanks for your nice comments. Others? Are there any other questions? Any comments? All right.
Thanks for attending.
Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for attending. This was recorded, so we will be able to put this up on the
Excuse me.
Oh.
Could I ask one last? I'm sorry. It took us an hour to figure out how to get off of unmute. This is Elaine Dodman. My question is, what is our agreement with our security company when it comes to something like this, which is obviously a disaster? What is our agreement with them? I mean, because my natural reaction would be, gosh, they're all going to run home to their families as we all probably would. So it's just curious.
You're absolutely correct. There is no agreement that they stay and help. They are not our employees. It's a contracted service. They will be going home to their families. That's an expectation that we have of them, is that they are to go home and be with their families and make sure their families are secure and safe.
Jen, it's John Boyle. I would just like to comment in that I think this is an amazing, amazing amount of work that you have all done here. I think we all know how important it is. And as individuals, none of us would know where to start. And the fact that, yes, it's not perfect, but boy, have you made a lot of progress and gotten us quite far down that road. So just want to say thank you for all you all have done.
Thank you, thank you. The committee has put in a lot of hours and work on it. Very, very nice of you to say, John. Thank you.
Yeah, right now.
Hi, this is Debbie Breslowski. In answer to Mel's comment about the devices that are used to make water potable, I have two. One's called a SteriPen and one's called a Crazy Cap. Crazy Cap it looks like a water bottle. SteriPen is a long, narrow, it looks like a pen, and they both work on UV light. So they're charged maybe once a week, depending on how often you use it. I don't use mine often, so I don't need to charge it once a week. But those are just two gadgets that are available to make water potable.
And Debbie, how many gallons does it make potable?
Well, it depends on the size of the Crazy Cap bottle, but I have I think it's a 24-ounce one. So you'd have to use it when you use up the 24-ounce, you'd have to keep using it until you recharge it.
Right.
And as far as the SteriPen, it's something that you swirl into water. And I have to look into how many gallons. It's not going to be a huge amount, but as long as you have it, you can keep reusing it until you need to recharge.
At this moment in time, where the Disaster Preparedness Committee really is strongly encouraging homeowners to see that they are responsible for their own water supply. To provide water for 1,000 people for 3 weeks is not within our bandwidth right now. I'm not saying that it can't be at some moment in time down the road, but where we are now, every homeowner, Debbie, needs to do what you're doing and ensure that they have those tools and those supplies for 3 weeks to cover what their family, their pets, and they are going to need to have. Our goal as a committee was to put a system in place that allows us to provide help to the injured, access to some tools, provide a system of communication, and maybe some water, maybe some things. But most of that is going to be homeowner to homeowner, taking in homeowners who need help or taking in homeowners who have extra food. So I just really want you to understand the breadth of Rancho. It's 1,000 people that need a gallon of water a day for 3 weeks. That's a lot of water. But I like your tools. Anything else?
Hi, this is Don Williams.
Hi, Don.
Hi, there was a comment about solar generators. Has there been any consideration to actually not looking at temporary solar generators? Because that sounds like what you're looking at, but actually taking and putting permanent facilities with batteries at the regional pools. And so it's used on a regular basis to pay for itself, and then it's there when it's needed.
That's higher than my pay grade as the Disaster Preparedness Committee Chair. So I don't know the answer to that, Don. That would be something that's above me. I don't know, Kyle, do you know the answer to that?
We haven't looked at it in the pool, but I know Chris is looking at it in the maintenance shop. So it's not been funded yet. He's just looking into it, but that may be a good possibility.
Okay.
They are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They are very expensive. I think it was also looked into the new recreational building, new wellness center that's going to be put in the front lawn. Put solar panels on that and put solar batteries on the side of that. But as of now, I think the board considers that to be cost prohibitive. I mentioned that to Jay and he didn't think that it could be done.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that one.
I
just
mean,
know
there are federal and state incentives as well, right? I mean, yeah, I think the major cost you're talking about is the batteries, not necessarily the solar panels.
The batteries are more expensive than are the panels, but I think you would need both.
Right, I agree. I'm 100% with you. That need both. I was just trying to think if there's a way to put in something that actually pays for itself. You know,
I agree with you. Ideally, that should be done. I mean, right now it's a state imperative. If you build a new residence, not commercial, but for an individual residence, you need to put solar panels on top of their residence. That's a state requirement, as I understand it.
that's correct. And we are actually in probably the only 2 units here that have solar.
Oh, well, welcome. Oh, good for you. We're gonna show up at your house.
There we go. Well, we don't have batteries though yet.
Jen,
Yes,
this is Judy Feinerman. What did you say the website was for getting one of those emergency kits for your home?
emergencykits.com, I believe.
That's a good name. Okay. All right.
And
That's all.
Judy, this will be up on the website too, so you can go and look at it tomorrow, I think.
Okay. Thanks.
Right? Any other questions?
There's a CERT class coming up.
No questions. You're just fabulous.
Well, thank you, Belinda. I appreciate you a lot. There is a CERT class for those of you interested in taking CERT training, and I hope I've inspired at least a couple of you to do that, please. Your neighbors will greatly appreciate it. It is December 11th
6 to
in
8.
Sun City.
6th to 8th. La Quinta
16th, sorry.
December 6th. to the
December
8th.
6th.
Yes, at La Quinta City Hall.
Oh, La Quinta, oh, it is in La Quinta. So go right down the street on Washington, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. So it's a Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday.
We'll post it.
You get a free helmet.
And you get, and a free green backpack, and a free green vest.
You get a lot of stuff.
You get a lot of stuff. All right, anything else?
I'm gonna bring mine.
Thank you very much to everybody for attending. I really appreciate it. Right, how do I click out of here now?